fuck have I been doing right now? Ay, 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 ay. Ay. Am I this visible? I guess. Am I live? What the fuck am I even? Okay. Okay, I think we did it. Okay. Okay, it's a bit of a delay. How are you doing, Master Dwarf? I'm fine. Hello, friends. You have no idea how much I struggled actually setting all of this up. Too soon. Okay, hello, everybody. Ay, 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 ay. You guys don't know how difficult time I have with modern technology, especially things like this. I I don't know how to do any of this, but I will at least try. Goddamn. How do I even do this? If you have any questions towards me, I'll be happy to answer them as position. Right, I'm really struggling with technology. Okay. Okay, that's good that you can hear me. Good evening, friends. Ay, 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 ay. My room is a mess, but this is going to be a crafting session. Here is my crafting bunch of metal bits that I have, and we are going to be continuing crafting. Let's move this guy over here. Bunch of washer armor that I've been working on. It's not like totally historical. It's more of a fun project, trying to figure out how it works. But this is gorget or whatever, and I'm trying to build up like arm protections and different bits. And while I do this, I would like to have a goddamn my head chat with you all. Hopefully, it's not gonna be a total disaster. Alright. Everything's good over there with the political stuff. No, it's not. Everything is going worse and worse. I'm doing this to distract myself from the. I don't even want to go into the horrible mess that is going on. One of the things that was made clear, I'm gonna keep the politics short, but one of the things that we found out is that during last year's protests, they actually did put some chemicals in the water, and that chemicals were apparently some horrible cyanide-based chemicals used during World War One, and it was outlawed, and they actually used it. And their whole argument was the fake illegitimate government's argument was, oh, it's not real. BBC was actually the one who released it. it's not real. If it's real, you guys deserved it, and if you guys didn't deserve it, the previous government did it. And it's horrible. And they basically admitted using chemical warfare against their own citizens, but their whole argument is it was bought by the previous government. So like one of the priests actually said the funny line, thank God our previous government didn't buy a nuclear bomb, because they would use it against us. Literally orc mentality. And leave those guys in the past, banish them out of our minds, and let's do some crafting, and hopefully we can take our minds off it. Wait, hi. It's nice because to go to work, I should still be able to listen and engage there. Thank you for everyone, even watching right now, watching in the future. I'm just really, I've been really nervous in starting this live stream. I have been like, should I do it? How would I do it? I'm a medieval man. I don't know any modern technology, and the fact that I'm able to actually pull this off is big deal enough for me. So thank you everyone for watching. Craft. So this is a bit of my invention. I'm probably not the first person to make something like this. Is basically combining washers in different styles. I've been experimenting in many different sizes of them washers. We even have like this tiny rings. We have many other variations, and one of the things that I like is more or less, you can see, this style of pattern. Would this be actually protective? Kinda, sorta, yes, especially against slashing. And we see similar style of chainmail construction in Japanese mail, which is again meant for slashing swords, not piercing weapons. So this would be well, all chainmail is weak against piercing weapons, but this would be much weaker. But if you have some thick padding underneath it, it would work. But it's hopefully not going to use it in actual battle. This is more costuming, designing, prop making, hopefully in the future for films, but right now for my YouTube videos and costume projects. So what we're going to do is take these washers right here. I don't know if you can see them. Basically these washers right here, these ones right here, and combine them with, these are open chains right here, you can see here. But before we use them, I would grab these chain links that I have, different experimental chains, and open them up by hand. See, bunch of chain links are already open. Some of them are already open, some of them aren't. These are closed. So I'll also try to engage with the chat. I think they're stainless steel. I don't know exactly, but maybe not stainless steel, but zinc metal. It's just regular washers from regular shops. I don't exactly know how they're made, but I know that they don't get rusty like other metal bits. Like this isn't rusty. I was trying to make a large ring helmet like this, but unfortunately, because this isn't as flexible, it's not able to fully cover my lobe, or whatever this part of the head is called. So it might have a cool idea behind it, but execution didn't go as planned. Good evening. Hello, Romania. I love you guys. Hopefully I can one day visit Romania and fight some vampires. Okay. So this is the gorget, the neck protection. I'm not going to put this on right now. But I've been experimenting with these because regular chainmail is cool and all, but this is better because the material, the chain, the washers, everything is already provided in your basic shops, crafting shops, and metalworking and different shops, and you don't have to construct most of the materials. You just grab chain and open them up. Let's see. Here you go. Regular S store-bought chain. I hope you can see this. And here's what you do. These are my pliers that I use crafting, but this is the wire cutters, and you will see there is the link that is sorry. There's the link that's I don't know, welded or just got them pressed together, but you go to that spot, grab that bit, and you open it. It doesn't require a lot of strength, but over time it kind of gets daunting. So, um, yes, someone asked an actual historical question. How accurate was knights with guns on horseback? They were pretty accurate. There were plenty of different cultures who adapted guns early on. Some knights and some military culture rejected guns, but soon they realized that those that were using it were dominating the battlefield. So it's better to be up to date with technology. And Germans, Polish are my favorite with their winged hussars and axe guns. I love them. And we, of course, Georgians, developed those gun bullet holsters on our clothing called masrebi on our chocha, our clothing, specifically that we could shoot while horse riding. So horse riding culture is, of course, tied back to knight's culture, and shooting became the dominant way of combat during pike and shot era, and even after. There is like transition period, very interesting. Hello from Greece. I love Greece. I've been to Greece once. Hopefully, I can go back twice and visit more of my favorite historical museums, and hopefully find and bring back the golden fleece that you guys stole. Eh? You thought we forgot, right? um, so, I had a lovely visit a few years ago in Greece, and would like to visit once again, hopefully in near future. One of my dreams, I'm ashamed to say that this is a dream that of mine, is to become a van driving hobo, like a hippie with a cookie, big fantasy aesthetic, like wizards and witches battling one another, painted on the side of the van, and I would go around Eastern Europe, Europe, even like Middle East and other parts of the world, and have fun. So now we're opening these rings up. It's quite easy. Just grab it with your hands, or you can use pliers sometimes when they're hard to open. Double plier and open them. And now you have material to make the chain link washer mail. This is quite relaxing. Working with your hand is quite relaxing. Do you play Dungeons and Dragons? Yes, I do. Currently, I haven't played in a while. Unfortunately, when my favorite species of monkey. Macaques are my favorite species of monkey, but great apes would be orangutans. I love orangutans. I sit and watch orangutan videos, and I think if there is a spirit animal of mine, that would be an orangutan because they're silly but smart like me. So, uh, going back to Dungeons and Dragons, unfortunately, I haven't played a long running game in a while because when I'm not gonna go into politics, trying to keep video from getting demonetized. But during the time when protests started, I felt guilty playing games and having fun with my friends because why pretend to fight monsters where monsters are attacking us in real life? So I abandoned a lot of my long running games to be 24/7 involved in protests and politics and stuff like that. But now it's been more than a year, and unfortunately, I still hope we will win. But it's a long game, long battle, and now I want to return to games. But when the train goes, people don't often wait for you. So everyone started their own games, and now if I want to play a game, I need to either start a new one or find other people to play with. So it's a complicated topic, but technically my channel still covers a lot of world building and mythology, fantasy. So I still have to think a lot about D&D. Uh, okay, good. A man with a van plan. Yes. God damn it, that's a great dream. I always wanted to travel. That's one of the things that I haven't fulfilled in my life. I've traveled to some places, Turkey, Greece, and France, but I want to visit more countries, not for just holidays, visiting for a few days, just hanging around, like being a bum, traveling around, having adventures, being like a traveling salesman. My character Bordo is actually a fantasy character that I've been playing in LARP and in D&D, and his whole shtick is that Bordo is a traveling merchant and goes around, finds people who need his wares, and maybe uh, goes into a peaceful society. He has a lot of swords to sell, and maybe starts a little bit of a conflict to have a business. So he's more of a not so not so good, not so bad kind of character, So I said, why not actually become a traveling salesman, a traveling merchant, selling crafting equipment and bunch of leather and metal things that I'm making? Because I don't know, I make them for fun and I just keep them around. So like I can sell them in my own country because nobody has money in this country. So maybe traveling to other places would find more possibilities. Okay. Maybe okay. The think in a real fantasy world, orc and monsters would be wiped out by the humans the moment they get guns. That is true, and if you ask me, one of my conspiracy theories is why a lot of fantasy, I mean, why a lot of fairy tale stories dropped out, and all those fairy tale creatures such as ogres, giants, dragons that were all over the fairy tale world, we don't have them anymore, is because humans got guns and outpowered them and became the dominant power and got rid of all the dragons, giants, fairies, and other creatures. Many of them are canonically afraid of iron, which cold iron, of course, and which bullet shoots, lead and iron, of course. Um, Georgian food and wine are fantastic. To some Georgians, like pipe tobacco also. I dabble in it sometimes. I don't want to get really addicted to it, but I like smoking my pipe. It's not around here right now, but um, I usually don't smoke tobacco in there. But sometimes when I can't get a hold of the other stuff, I also smoke tobacco. um, a LARP Bordeaux. I'll tell you a few stories about our LARP. In Georgia, we started the LARP scene. It didn't. It lasted for 10 years, but again, the crazy protest that's been going on in the country for years now, and more than a year now. Unfortunately, nobody has time or mental space to actually play LARP. But we've been playing LARP since 2015, 14, 15, and I've been a core member of it. And um, one of my first characters that I played was Bordo the dwarf, but actually, gonna be honest with you guys, I'm not 4 feet tall or 5 feet tall. I'm 6 foot 1 or so, like 185 centimeters, like that. And because of that, a lot of people are like, well, how can you be a dwarf when you're so big? So my lore explanation is that I'm actually my character Bordo. Let's be honest. I sometimes mix myself with Bordo, but my character Bordo is a half human. Sorry, not half human, half dwarf, half giant, and of course, ha ha ha. Which one did whom? And my explanation is that my character's father was a dwarf bard who charmed a giantess woman. So half dwarf, half giant created this like larger than life dwarf character. So that's the crazy lore behind my character species. Technically, that would make Bordeaux a Goliath or half Goliath at least, like giant's blood and dwarf's blood, like my mountain races mixing. Uh, you should make a video about how fantasy world would be affected by humans get guns, mainly the politics and power dynamics in between. I've recorded some videos in the past, of course, and recently I've been recording as many videos as I can. So to somehow save my channel from the dark depths of YouTube space that we are in, unfortunately. And in the future, I would make something like that as well. I've recorded a video about how a society with high magic would react, how they structure themselves, how the wars would be restructured, how would other conflicts be restructured, and I also mentioned guns being the way of non-magical beings trying to keep up with the arms race. But I would also make a video about that. It's an interesting topic I could talk more and more about. Uh, Estonia had a singing revolution. It would be amazing if Georgia had a LARPing revolution. You have no idea how close we were multiple times because our protests actually many times turned into costume protests because um, the fake government, the legitimate government, are using Chinese face detecting software to arrest people who are going to protest. Technically, it's written in constitution that everyone can protest and everyone can block the road if they can't be on the sidewalk, but they still break the constitution and arrest people. So a lot of people started wearing masks, and I was one of the first people who wore my signature helmet. Where is it? Uh, it's over there. Wait, I'll get it. My iconic signature helmet. Let me put it on. And soon after, first I was the only crazy one in costume, but soon after, many people started wearing costumes so that face recognition software couldn't recognize them. But we are in a terrible political situation because opposition is so unorganized and terrible they can't muster anything to. It's a. We're here to have fun and distracted from the goddamn horrible reality that is life. So basically, let's get back to crafting. So here's what I do: two sides of washers. I place them in between of an open uh, chain link, and then and then close it. Kind of grab it, and as you can see, it's closed. Slowly, we get acquired multiple different rings like this, and we start linking them together. We can have like this 4-link style or something close to this five link style. This is much larger washers, but I'm using close to something like this. Ah, all right. Let's read on. Uh, in my first ever RPG game, we rolled for height. I was the shortest possible halfling, 4 foot, okay, and and he was the tallest possible dwarf, 5 foot 5. uh, it's 4 feet. Like I'm kind of bad with American measurements, but is 4 feet like 120 centimeters, if I'm not mistaken, or 30 centimeters. Um, I don't know. Halflings, I think, can be shorter than 4 feet. Uh, Low power mages would definitely have the advantage with early guns because they could streamline the string mechanism. I agree with that one. And they need to make a spark, and they could conduct the spark through the nail. That is an interesting point. One of the ideas I had for my character Bordo, he is not a high level magician, but he's a high level magic craftsman. So he doesn't need a spark because he can create sparks from his hand, and that's how he fires the guns. And I've been thinking about creating some magic guns that, for example, Firebolt, a level 1 spell, is powerful enough while hitting a human, but if you concentrate some sort of a spark like that, like a firebolt, inside of a tube of a cannon, that could send out a projectile much faster, and you could have like wizard gunslingers that are shooting pure mana and magic, or maybe even manufacturing magical bullets themselves, or just putting bullets and using magical explosion to shoot them. It's a pretty cool idea for like cowboy wizard. I think it's more of a skill gap. It's a lot simpler to uh, load a shotgun than spend months to learn magic missile. That is true. One of the reasons guns dominated early on, when they were still a crude weapon compared to bows and other weapons, was that it would take much shorter time for captains to train peasants to learn how to aim and shoot firearms to be effective shots than to train them to use bows and arrows, because I'm if you watch my videos me handling bow and arrow, I'm a noob at it. I shot many times before, but each time I struggle with it. So you need a lot of training to use actual powerful war bows, and guns give you the ability to do a half decent job with maybe like 10% of the training, because a lot of great archers have to learn from their childhood. Like there are stories of skeletons of English archers being bent in different shapes because they were training to shoot long bows since they were kids, and develop different muscle structures. 120.92. I was close. I said now 120. So I was close in 4 feet being 120. Um, okay, let's try to keep up with the comments. Thank you for commenting. I think it's more of the that part. Are you wait? Yes. Are you a weeb? If so, or which is the first anime you watched? I've been caught. Of course, I'm a weeb. I'm a huge nerd, and the first anime I watched, I don't know if someone outside of Georgia would know about this. Grandizer. You say, Grandizer. It's it's a mech anime from 70s to 80s that was not really popular in Japan, but huge in Eastern Europe, especially Georgia. And when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I was watching it dubbed, and it was like, oh my god. Other oldest anime that I can remember is Speed Racer, the original, the old Speed Racer. And what else? I've seen a lot of like really old obscure animes when I was growing up, but then when internet came about and a lot of TV shows started airing animes, of course, Pokemon. Um, what's the name of the thing? Uh, Shaman King, Naruto, of course, and many other. Because I was in Eastern Europe, a lot of let's continue crafting. I get so distracted by comments. Um, a lot of anime got dubbed over by Russians, and I'm a trilingual speaker. I'm trying to learn a fourth language, but can't get a. It's really difficult, to be honest. I learned both Georgian, Russian, and English when I was really little, so I have never actually developed skills of learning a different language. So I watched there's a Russian channel on Georgian TV back in the day called Dvazhde Dva, which was like Adult Swim for Eastern Europeans, and it had a lot of obscure, terrible animes, which I love to this day. And then, of course, I got to internet and watched close to 500 animes, to be honest, especially when I was a teenager. I didn't have a lot of friends because being a nerd in my neck of the woods, especially when I was child, was really difficult. And I just kept to myself and watched a lot of animes and YouTube and internet, and that's why I became such a huge nerd that I am today. So okay, read other comments as well. Um, where was I? Their opposition is still better than opposition in Russia itself. True, true. That is true. I try to follow Russian politics closely, and their opposition is, I think, as terrible as the government themselves. They're just liberal fascists, and there's like bigger opposition as Nazis than actual like progressive or like non-genocidal Russians. So it's really bad, but I don't know. Our opposition is also pretty bad, and I believe that everyone is a KGB spy at this point. They are so incompetent. You as a normal average person, you cannot be this incompetent. I believe everyone is incompetent on purpose. I stopped believing in coincidences a long time ago. Um, Anybody watching Stranger Things? I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of Stranger Things, but I'm watching it. I would say season 5 is a bit weaker. I would have preferred if they did a time skip and if they delved better with the Soviet side as a child of a post-Soviet country. I would have liked to understand if like if Soviets had their own program to create their own 11s and psychic kids. Because they actually historically they actually did try to compete with USA with their crazy programs, and that was one of them. Okay, let's try to keep up with the comments. A huge risk of fighting a wizard with a gun is she might just use a fire metal light spell to make when its power go off. That is a really good way for a wizard to deal with someone with a gun. I might use it if I ever play a magic character that can use heat metal and hit someone's gun. That would be hilarious. Uh, Ever thought exploring other fantasy sci-fi settings like World of Darkness or 40K? That is a good question. Before going into fantasy, I was more of a sci-fi kid, um, and wanted to be a mad scientist. And until I found out that you can't have a job as a mad scientist, it's just mental condition. You have to be a scientist with mental issues. So, um, uh, unfortunately, I really was into sci-fi as a kid, but then I got disillusioned by the realities of science that you can't actually make mutants, and super science is just part of fiction. So I went into fantasy, and I still love sci-fi, and I might not be as knowledgeable about Warhammer as a lot of my friends are, but I know a few things here and there. I would actually love to make a suit of armor from 40k. That would be really fun to do. But gonna be honest, I'm not crazy about grimdark settings. I do really like Warhammer Fantasy aesthetically, but I know more about the lore of 40k, but I'm more interested with the aesthetics and the vibes of fantasy. But I don't know enough about each to make a coherent video about it. But hopefully in the future, I might, if I find a subject that I can cover easily. Look at comments. Anybody? Okay, we said it. I want to say Ereburn. Basically, what bordos is with the people using low-level wizards, like revolvers. That's again. That Bordo guy has really cool ideas. Again, I missed 40k of World of Darkness. World of Darkness has been a subject of fascination of mine. Sorry, I gone a bit back with a lot of comments, so I'll try to skip through. But I have many opinions about World of Darkness. I actually have met the guy, one of the guys who created White Wolf. I think once, maybe like 10 or 8 years ago. I think 8 years ago, he was a friend of a friend. I don't think it was. I don't think I said more than hi to him, but. He's, I think, married to a Georgian woman and lives here, so that's another complicated. But I'm really fascinated by it. I have a lot of opinions. I disagree with a lot of world building choices, but I'm also working on my uh, something or another that would be basically World of Darkness meets SCP Foundation meets some like a Monster Hunt and Supernatural, that kind of story set in Eastern Europe. I haven't fully decided it would be Georgia specifically, or just like an secret cabal of monster hunters and um, what's the guy's name in the World of Darkness? Uh, the science wizards with the thing with the magic. They technically use magic, but they call it like super science or something. Like those guys, um, after the fall of Soviet Union and dissolution of the Union, how like all the monsters that have been repressed by Soviet militant atheist system, how all those monsters and creatures that have been repressed and killed and sent to the shadows, how they return and regain and establish power and try to fight off the remnants of the Soviet secret society, and that how that bleeds into especially 90s period. 90s really fascinating period in Eastern Europe because it's like crazy wars, destructions, criminal gangs ruling countries, a lot of Soviet secret science being released into the wild, and its historical period is crazy enough. And if you put werewolves, vampires, and witches into the mix, it's a powder keg of chaos. So it's an untapped market of really interesting potential. So trying to maybe Eberron is an interesting setting. I might go into it. I'll try to speed run and trying to answer any question. Is it true that you need training, but if you have time and foresight, I really need to train myself to use bow and arrow better. Speed Racer was good. It was really good. Uh, where was it? Sorry, Elias. I was reading. Shaman King was a banger. Yes, it was. I didn't watch the remake. High border from low level Ukrainian battle mage on free time. Slava Ukraine. You guys are less hope that I have of this world. So need to find some Khingali and Khachapuri place while I have an opportunity. You need to. Gives you strength, you know. Okay, but couldn't imagine meeting a beardly knight at some camp and chatting about how he didn't really like some Yuri slice comparing it to other Yuri slice of life. I never got into slice of life, to be honest. I have some favorites in that genre, but I'm more of a fantasy and sci-fi guy, to be honest. I don't like isekais, but some isekais work for me, but not the big ones. Like there is one isekai I was watching. Some handyman got transported into a fantasy world, and he's just a regular working dude, being able to pick locks and be like a roguish type by having basic job knowledge of like helping out regular people in real world. Um, my favorite genre of sci-fi is generational ships. I don't know what you mean by generational ships. Uh, like ships or like relationships. Hello, Kavkaz brother. Gau Marjos. Karachay checking in. Hello, brother from another mountain. What are some of your favorite books from shelf behind you? It's not a real shelf, it's just wallpaper. I have books over there, and one of my favorite series is the Discworld World Series by Terry Pratchett. I love his writing style, and if I'm gonna copy someone ever, it's gonna be him. Hi, Bordo. Okay, we read that. Sorry, I'm a terrible reader. Da, 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 da. That's a lot of Bible, yes. Okay, I could bring some crazy book out, but I'm too lazy. Okay, maybe next step. My favorite, okay, probably everybody likes Bebop. Bebop, Cowboy Bebop is great, but what Samurai Champloo is also great, but gonna be honest, not a big rap guy, and the big sell of it was rap. But uh, Afro Samurai really goes hard. It I think as Samurai Champloo is great, but Afro Samurai is crazier and better. Well, if I could recommend you some Warhammer Fantasy games and novels you might like. I want to get into it, but kinda like I know it's gonna be a huge commitment. If I gonna go with fantasy. Um, Sub goal to get bordo start on squats space dwarves. I I really like the world building for squats in Warhammer 30k. I might not be 100% knowledgeable about this, but as I understand, they're like similar lore with Deep Rock Galactic. I'm a big Deep Rock Galactic player, and you're just a clone of a clone of a clone. There are like genetically engineered batches of different dwarves, like stout bred humanoids who are designed to withstand radiation and different environments, and your whole life is to like mine and do jobs. You're basically born an adult dwarf that you go mine, fight, and serve your clan's capital interest. I really find it fascinating. um, okay. Yeah, it's cool. But we didn't really like. Maybe I said hi to him, and that was all of our interactions. But hopefully, in the future, uh, we might meet again. It's just that it sometimes hurts loving these settings as they get pillaged and deformed by woke web. You know, it's every they come for every setting that is popular because they don't want to create anything original. They just want to plunder that everything that already exists. And I think there is also some sort of a conspiracy to rob our imagination. But one thing we can always do is ignore bullshit and support creators who actually do a great job. Like, for example, Space King. Like they did. All hail Space King. Okay, it's a silly show, but I it captures the craziness of Warhammer 40k. As I understand, Warhammer 40k in its own self was a parody of 80s action and sci-fi genre. So, parody of a parody goes really crazy. My idea for a world of darkness set in Georgia is to have line of Camarilla vampires, regent of Colchis, Iberia, Media, with KGB agents being Garo warring with them. You are close to my opinion, which is I've mentioned in my witches video where I talk about Georgian like witches and witchcraft and those kinds of things. In Georgian folklore, we don't have vampires. We have giants, werewolves, shapeshifters, all those crazy things, but the vampires are specifically Balkan thing. So, in my world building, at least, uh, vampires try to come in and dominate Caucasus. For example, like those I don't remember everyone's name, but Camarilla and Ventru and what's the Middle Eastern one? Those and like different groups might have come into Georgia, but Georgia has always been under the protection of the Garu, the werewolves. Werewolves were cats, were foxes, and were creatures. And it has been a constant battle between Balkan vampires and Caucasian werewolves to dominate Eastern Europe and the Anatolian space. So, unfortunately, during Russian Empire was, of course, dominated by those blood-sucking monsters, and Garu and the vampires unfortunately hunted most of those werewolves out. But I don't want to go too crazy into my lore. I still want to still work through it and build on it. But I have this idea of a clan of werewolves, technically were dogs of God, like Christian Garu, werewolves who were converted back in the like straight up first century BC by Jesus Christ himself, and they became chained knights. They were silver chains, like where I have a bunch of chains right here, like they were chains on their body to stop themselves to becoming fully controlled by the beast, and they have like slowly built up an immunity, like resistance to it. They still get burned by it, so they don't fully transform, but they're like in their half beast mode, and they follow like Christian, like secret cabal of Christian Orthodox monks that live in the high mountains of Caucasus, and they go around doing their bidding. And one of the characters is one of them, who is a genetically Soviet engineered monster werewolf, but he escaped and became part of this church, and now is serving the church and trying to inhibit his werewolf tendencies to not go full beast mode. All right, ignoring that. Okay, I try to answer. Sometimes that always seems weird to me that about Indiana Jones, World of Darkness, Harry Potter is how there is magical underworld, but IRL history is about the same instead of being altered a ton. That is a big point I have as well. Uh, I always love imagining alternative histories. If you imagine those magical beasts and beings existed in it, and we could say like real history is the propaganda, the lie, the fiction created by modern society, the Enlightenment wizards who believe that magic is bad and only science should govern the world, and the fairy tales and folklore is the true history that modern historical consensus is trying to hide. So magical underworld is being like has been taken covered over just like in past 200 years during industrialization, and modern history is just fiction created to control society. Rock and brother, rock and stone brother. Yeah. Have a nice stream. Thank you, thank you. I'm trying to craft, but I'm also trying to engage with the comments, and doing both is quite quite challenging. Okay. Generation ships are spacecraft in very long journeys, so only the great grandchildren of the original crew are actually alive. That is a really interesting concept of like going on a spaceship, knowing that you will never go to the end destination, only your great grandchildren would go there. But if we finally break through with um, freezing of humans and or maybe like deep sleep that kind of keeps their body aging slowly, it would be really interesting to have this system where, for example, I go with like my wife and my friends with their wives go on a spaceship. We have children, raise them to be pilots. We, when we're in our like late 40s to 50s, we entrust the continuation of the ship to our children, go into cryo sleep. Then those our children raise their children, and then when they become 50s or 40s, they go into cryo sleep. So at the end, yes, some like fourth or fifth generation of kids are the ones who get there, but generation of family are still on ice waiting to be revived. And like immediately when we come to another planet, we have like five generations of great grandparents and parents living all together. That would be quite crazy concept, but I think it might work. Okay, okay. uh yes, okay. The energy has lower. Trying to keep up with the comments. Sorry, guys. I'm not great at using this modern technology. It makes sense for Medea to be a vampire, though, since she shipped up to Greece as a traitor and came back after losing her family. I have. You would or would not be surprised that I've thought about this a lot. I don't think Medea would be a vampire for one specific reason. She is a grandchild of Helios. So she is not a regular human. Even in the story, Medea's father, King Aeetes, and his sisters, Pasiphae and Kirke, Circe, they were really powerful witches, but they weren't human. They were part Titan, part Oceanid, or in some versions, the father is always Helios, the Titan of the sun. Where do I have my sun disco to show off? There we go. This is the Colchian sun symbol that I love to show off. One of my viewers, one of my channel's friends created it. And according to Greek myths, at least, Medea's father, King Aeetes, was the child of Helios, Titan of the sun, and in some versions, a sea nymph or a Oceanid, or in another version, Hecate, goddess of underworld and witchcraft. So, in both senses, um, Aeetes and his sisters, Pasiphae and Kirke, are full-blooded gods. They're not mortal, they're not human. But the story treats them like mortal humans. And in the case of Medea, she is either half god, goddess technically, or in other versions, King Aeetes also marries another Oceanid. So she is technically Oceanid Titan blood mix. So she wouldn't need to be a vampire to be immortal. By her own divine nature, she is immortal goddess. But but here's where another point comes in, because she is from a sun worshipping cult. I don't think she would become vampire, but that could be like a dramatic turn of events if we found out that she sacrificed her final last value as a daughter of the Sun Titan, granddaughter of Sun Titan, and became a witch vampire. I think if she is still alive, she would be some sort of a witch that maybe goes into reincarnation, maybe possesses other people, or does some witchcraft of rejuvenation. We know in the Greek myth that she knows how to rejuvenate people through potions. And the golden fleece that technically she still holds on to has the power of giving someone health and life. So she might be an underworld witch doing some shenanigans, not being on the side of good, but I don't believe she would be a vampire just by the fact that she is a daughter of the sun, granddaughter of the Sun Titan. All right, trying to keep up with the comments. I get stuck with interesting comments, but I think Jesus Christ is a bit unrealistic, but a prophet or apostle would make more sense. You're right, you're right. I said Jesus because I couldn't think of a name of a prophet. I think three prophets, direct prophets of Jesus, actually came to Georgia, and one of them is rumored to be buried in Abkhazia. I don't specifically remember their name though. One of them was going to Scythia to convert the Scythians, and they went through Georgia and created the small converts that later were part of the first synod of like first Christian synod, and that's another complicated story. Like if wizards were real, would you think that they would be the kings or advisors and troubleshooters? At least dragons might be used for travel or decide to take over, and so on. I think wizards were real. I'm not gonna go into crazy my opinions, but there are plenty of people who consider themselves to be practitioners of magic, and many of them were famous kings, but many of them worked as advisors. Because when you're a king, you need someone educated in things that you might not be knowledgeable, especially during medieval period when not even many kings knew how to read. So I've talked about clan and caste systems or class systems that existed in previous history, and educated clerical spiritual clan or caste was always either equal to kings or on top of kings, because they were the ones who kept knowledge and communicated with God. So if wizards were real, they would probably create a secret underground, not physically underground, but secretive society where they continued controlling and manipulating the sleeping world, and were the true orchestrators and manipulators of what's going on in the real world. Um, Speaking of apostles, I can't remember, but one of early Christian converts was always depicted as a werewolf or someone, a cynicophale, someone with a wolf's head, a human with a wolf's head. So that would be the patron saint of my like Christian werewolf club. This like Christian saint with like full armor and having like a wolf's head. I need to make a video about it, but I'm terrible with names right now. Um, uh, okay. Trying to keep up with the comments. I think it is going to very near the speed of light. You still need cryo sleep, etc. Yes, cryo sleep could be. In, there are you don't need to freeze the body to keep it like the cells slow down the cell division. So cells can go into like survival mode where they don't like reproduce and duplicate as often, and they just use the nutrients they have to sustain themselves. And a lot of animals can go into that, like hibernation, that like biological space where their body almost completely shuts down. And theoretically, it is possible to induce it in humans, but we haven't got there. Um, okay, trying to keep up with the. There's an apostle that was a missionary in Crimea region, right? Yes, yes. There are plenty of apostles that went through Scythia and Eastern Europe. The thing is, okay, cool necklace. It's a 3D printed skull of a rat or something like a. Yeah, but if Medea was drained of blood and drank some of a second or third generation vampire blood, theoretically she would become a blank body because she is still technically mortal. I don't think Medea is technically mortal. Again, she is at least a demigod or a full-on lesser god by Greek hierarchical standards. But if we want to have an Caucasian witch, I've talked about Caucasian vampire. I've talked about her a few times before. There is this creature in Georgian mythology called a Rokapi. Rokapi is Queen of Witches. She is a really, really old hag. Imagine Baba Yaga, but even older. And she can't barely move. She's so old. And she's sustained by her cabal of witches who go around and kill children, steal their hearts, and sacrifice those hearts to sustain this like immortal witch's life. She has her own like domain underground, like her own secret coven, and those witches that go to her every year, they must pay their dues, and they often like sacrifice their own children or kidnap other children or sorry, make men fall in love with them, and when those men fall in love with them, they tear those hearts out and they bring it to this powerful witch who then devours those hearts and children and blood, and then bestows gifts upon the witches. And if she doesn't like the gift that you bring, she will devour you. So if there's going to be a bruja witch in Georgia, I think Rogabi is a perfect candidate, like a witchy blood witch magic using, and there could be a twisted or a reveal that, oh my god, this Rokapi in reality she is this Medea or something. But I don't want to she did plenty of bad on her own. I don't want to punish Medea even more. I would give her some other plot line regarding gods and reincarnation, I think. Or her being a mage, like Mage the Ascension, and she's one of the old generation mages from the Age of Heroes. Okay, good night, my king. Good night, my friend. Good night. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, think about them being gods, but written like humans reminds me of one of the worst parts of Rick Rihanna's Trials of Apollo, that they are god men who are written like just evil warrior dudes. Um, that is a complicated part of mythology. I'm just gonna go through the comments and maybe rant more about it. Morning from Australia. It's middle of the night in Georgia, morning in Australia. Hey, how are you? Simon the Zealot, I believe, to be buried in a plaza. I think so. I think so. If I'm not mistaken, I'm so terrible with names. Well, maybe the dead disciples gave might grave might have his ghost who speaks to and converts the were dogs, and perhaps they might guard his tomb after he enlightened. Maybe that could be a really interesting part of the lore. Hi folks, how are you all doing this fine evening? And Sai Bordo in that Shrek on your right. I'm not going to reveal the true secrets of this guy, but I'm making something special. I don't want to make a full reveal right now, but get ready. There's gonna be a interesting video coming soon. Uh, no spoilers. So keep watching. I need to find a someone to help me record the video. That's a huge problem I have. All of my friends have real world jobs or go to university, and none of them have time to record me go running around in the woods. So I need to find someone. So is that sure? Saint Christopher is the one who is said have the canine header. I think so. Yes, Saint Christopher. And Saint Christopher, there is a depiction of Saint Christopher with the wolf's head in the most important church in Georgia, which is Svet-Itzchoveli. Svet-Itzchoveli means the living pillar. I've talked about this many times before. It is where the shroud and clothing of Jesus Christ is held. And according to the story, when Jesus Christ was nailed to the cross, his personal items were sold, and the clothing that Jesus wore was bought by a Georgian Jew who was traveling to Israel at the time to see this new king of Jews that everyone was talking about. Unfortunately, he was late and brought back the clothing to his sister, who was really enamored by the stories she heard about Jesus. And she passed away, grabbing a hold of his cloth, and she was buried. And from her burial, grew a mighty magical tree that had healing properties, and magical angels used to gather around. And Saint Nino, that converted most of Georgia, especially our king, uh, she actually came to Georgia to visit this holy pilgrimage site. And one of the first churches in the world, and one of the first churches in Georgia was built there from the tree of this wood. And later in 12th century, a stone structure was built. And that building has a lot of very esoterical depictions of zodiac signs, depictions of apocalypse, like gods, angels, demons, a lot of crazy sights. And one of them is a wolf-headed figure. And one day I'm going to visit and record a video there. It's really interesting. Um, okay, trying to so. Hi folks, how are you? Okay, I read that part. Correct, Nicholas, the cynicophilic people. Saint Nicholas isn't Saint Nick the Santa Claus. I don't know. Maybe I'm terrible with names. Considered a Georgian term for which is Gudiani, you'd argue maybe there would be some kind of a uh, field shape shifters. Yes, Kudiani, the tailed ones. The tail is a big part of which. Okay, there are many different names for witches. There is Kudiani, well, Kaji technically is a different race. Chibali, Chibawi. There are many different names for witches. Kudiani specifically are basically what we would consider druids. They have the power to shapeshift into animals or go into astral plane and project their spirit into animal forms. And one way to determine them is by looking at their tails. And by cutting their tails off, you cut off their source of power. I don't know if C.S. Lewis knew about the story, but if he was a devoted Christian, maybe he heard of this story as well, because it is big part of Eastern Orthodoxy. Because Georgians and Armenians were with Ethiopians the first three Christian nations before Rome even recognized the Christians as human. So that history played a big part in that story. Um, Hey, Monza, my guy. I'm testing out recording a live stream. Hopefully, it's going well. I'm technically supposed to be crafting right now, but I'm so busy interacting with the comments. I'm having so much fun. I'm forgetting to actually craft. Vamps could represent the bourgeoisie, while the zombies represent the lumpenumplor. I don't know what lumpenumplor are, but we in Georgian mythology there is no zombie per se, but there are evil ghosts that might possess their own bodies and possess the dead. So, they're I'm gonna hit you with a complicated term. Gabudaqreba. Gabudaqreba are where spirits that can be human spirits or animal spirits or even protector saints and gods, and especially the um temples of ancient gods that we had. If they don't get enough veneration and prayer and um, sacrifice, they might turn evil and they might possess human or dead animals and dead flesh and come after humans. Oh, Marjos, go Marjos. Well, I'm not sure if the armor is going well, but the stream sure is. This is only thing I managed to do right now because I'm so busy trying to have an interesting conversation with all of you. Uh, Linothorax is halfway done, but halfway done is it's a complicated thing to say. Let's say it needs a lot more work to be fully finished. But I wanted to talk about something. One of the comments uh, reminds me of Hellebron, the most powerful dark princess. Consider Georgian the Gudiani. There was one comment that I really wanted to. Uh, oh, right. We were talking about. Wait, have you read The Golden Bow by James Frazier? No, unfortunately. Quite an interesting study on more obscure mythology. Even inspired the Wolfo Harvest Solo from Space and Wolf. Huh? Very interesting. Um, Spice and Wolf. I tried. I started watching Spice and Wolf, and I really should finish it because it has a lot of my vibes. Because the Wolf, like I watched a few first episodes, and it's really good at representing actual folk beliefs about those lesser deities and lesser gods, like the wolf spirit that um, it is um, a humanoid spirit that takes the form of a wolf, and because that's what people believe, and their responsibility is to bring good harvest, but bringing too much harvest would drain the earth, so sometimes they still have to let the earth rest. So more industrial farming doesn't really help them, and that's why their old gods are no longer being venerated. She would be close to the term of Kabudak Reba that I mentioned. She escaped from that place, but if she stayed, she would probably starve from lack of prayers and lack of worship and become disillusioned and angry at the people that were supposed to venerate her and become evil spirit. A lot of old gods, especially old local gods, had the same fate, and um, Gabudagreba. Sure, Gabudagreba. Not Gabudagreba, Gabudagreba. More complicated Georgian words. Yeah. Uh, how do you spell? That's okay. I can search it. Vaso Gelashvili did a great job in spelling it. So, okay, did you ever get started on the mention that? Bordo, I've wondered for a while now, where did you get your red Phrygian style hat? Phrygian style hat from the elves video. You mean this thing right here? Of course, I made it myself. I make everything I own. I was supposed to add more decorations to it, with more like scale rings that I was supposed to build up on it, but decided that it's good enough as is. Um, Actually, the Phrygian, like Scythian hats, were also spread into Caucasus as well. Sorry, I'm getting thirsty from talking. And they became big part of our culture as well. All of the Black Sea region adopted a lot of cultural elements from Scythians. I'm drinking mineral water, which is the way I survive because of my stomach problems. Okay. Uh, if you had to worship a pre-Christian religion, what would it be? Um, that's a good question. Of course, as a good Christian boy, I would somehow still be a Christian. But if I had to say, I would be a devotee of Prometheus if I was in Greece. Prometheus and Hephaestus, the craftsmen gods, and the only gods that actually cared about humanity. Let's be honest. Or I would just be Georgian and follow Georgian belief system. Maybe because of Persian influence, I might also have Zoroastrian tendencies, because Zoroastrianism is closest thing to like, my problem with a lot of ancient mythologies is that it's a lot of those gods are really assholes, and I just wouldn't follow them. You know, they're a bunch of jerks. So why would I worship a god that's basically a big old meanie? I would rather worship a god that's actually kind and helps out. Maybe not me, but someone. So, or could be like a Conan the Barbarian, be like, Krum, give me strength or fuck you, or whatever he said in that movie. He was like, not fully into gods, but still venerated his god. So, not sure why, but it reminds me of a uh, practice here in Americas. I've been like, I have a lot of crazy ideas about America and their belief structure, because um, a lot of Georgian culture is so tied to the land and so tied to the traditions that continued for centuries. Imagine in a world where a completely different culture existed, a new culture came in completely or almost completely wiped out the previous inhabitants and created a new structure. How would that, like, if spiritual and natural world exists, would, like, how would that interact? Because a lot of our cultural connection to our nature goes on for centuries, but like most American connection to nature goes back for a few centuries. So did Americans, like in those like American God series, brought their own gods to tame the land according to their will? Or like, is the land spirits of ancient American faith still dwelling in the earth and somehow fighting an unseen battle against insurgent American spiritualism? Or uh, I don't know. I have a lot of crazy opinions about American, especially about evangelicals. They truly scare me. Evangelicals and Mormons. Those are two groups of people that truly terrify me on this planet. Okay, let's try to keep up. That's you have made it, but I hope there was a one for sale somewhere of that quality. I don't know if you really want, I could make you one, but it's gonna. I don't know, man. I need to start crafting and selling that stuff, because I'm pinched for cash right now because YouTube isn't doing all that well. As long as you are not doing something wrong, of course, Goblin should be aware to be fair. Okay, and Nabeglawi sponsorship. They still gotta pay me. I'm gonna cover up their brand because the unnamed mineral brand is great for alcoholics like me. You know. Yes, that hat. In the LCD. Yes, this is my Scythian hat. That especially when I go gnomish wizard mode, I always wear this hat. Some people here use some people here used to worship trees, and if you ever cut down lumber, you had to raise to take the tree from the forest. Otherwise, you would offend the tree spirits. That's interesting. Like the tree worship was all over the world because trees are one of the oldest living creatures and they hold a lot of memory. And many of them would remember other people being. I don't know. Sorry. I have like mixed feelings about America. Like as someone who is like I've my ancestors have been living here for tens of thousands of years and learning about a country that is like 300 or 400 years. It's kind of like, is it even real? Can we call it a country? Okay, I'm being a jerk. I'm trying to like overcompensate Americans not knowing about Georgians by pretending to be like more ancienter and stuff like that. Okay. Also, I'm glad to hear someone else pronounce Scythians with the hard K. It always annoys me that people say it with a soft K. It's technically they call themselves Saka or Saga, and that's why I pronounce their names. And in Georgian, they're called Skaviti, the Skaviti. So the K is much harder in my own language. Athena and Aphrodite. Athena worshippers rise up. Athena, yes, but Aphrodite, I wouldn't trust that bitch. She betrayed my boy Hephaestus far too many times. Aphrodite, she's a. I don't want to be smited, but she's not been kind to me, and she's not been kind to many other humans. So, uh, I know in the Pirates of the Caribbean, there is a bit stuff about the echo of the olden gods in the Christian age. Yes, that's always nice to see in a lot of stories, like new culture and old culture kind of crashing into one another, and like echoes of that old belief system, like Calypso being a primary deity and human goddess figure in the story is really great. Calypso, my beloved. Uh, the deep mythology, but only thing I can recall is that it goes into the sort of New World deity stuff. I really didn't like the last movie that reset all the curses of the sea because um, Pirates of the Caribbean was building really interesting pantheon and world where a lot of new sea shanty like seafaring ideas, for example Davy Jones and Davy Jones's locker and him being the ferryman of the dead being introduced with a lot of um American mythologies put in there and like Greek mythology with Calypso. I don't know which god I angered to give me this cough, but I form take back what I said, I guess. It's not like a okay. Trying to keep up, trying to keep up. I love the Scythian cap too. I want to make different styles of Scythian hats as well. Um, it's I think the forward hook might be just a design thing, or but the shape itself, like being a conical shape and covering the ears. It's to protect from the winds. They lived in steppes, and the steppes are really really covered by winds, and you need to protect your ears and you need to protect your neck as well. That's why it goes down with the neck, so you don't catch a cold or something. Um, yes, Baptist people. Like as a kid, I was like, I knew about Orthodox, I knew about Catholics, but Protestant always seemed like too distant and far away from me. But more I learn, more they scare me. Uh, we Americans have mixed feelings about America too. We are not really real country, really. I wouldn't say it's not real country, but has lots more space to grow. The biggest thing that surprises me about America, how it's not really a melting pot. I thought it would have been more of a melting pot where many different religions, many different cultures, many different identities are promoted, but what I see from Americans is of like people slowly start losing it, and third generation are basically completely assimilated, and maybe somehow still like symbolically carry the memory of their ancestors, but not many even become assimilated in first generation. So that's really surprising to me because in Georgia we have a lot of different ethnic groups that never assimilated. Like there are people here who have been living here for many generations and never learned the language. So looking at America, how easily people get assimilated into its like culture is really shocking to me. Uh, uh, I'm not sure how George got to Germany from Georgia though. Who's George? You mean Saint George? Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, I have to mixed feelings about our young friends across the pond. Everybody needs to learn how to fight the good fight better these days. For goodness sake, it's let's eat some cake. Yeah, I I have many opinions. I'll keep them to myself for the safety of the channel. It's just saying that. Who wouldn't want to be smitten by Aphrodite? Aphrodite smiting you, it's not with hugs and kisses, you know. She will turn you into a frog and step on you, or something crazier even that. Last two films were cool. Uh, yeah, were not cool. The first three were cool. Um, I don't know, my opinion on Pirates of Caribbean is that the world itself is cool enough. You don't need Jack Sparrow. You can move on from Jack Sparrow. Just give a good movie. Keep the writing high quality high. Keep the world interesting and move on. Show us the pirate kings. What are they up to? We don't need constant like all this bullshit. Okay, obvious Nico, she sometimes would have people get killed by wild pigs. Yeah. Plus, as a star goddess, that seems pretty unsafe to make mad. Yeah. Aphrodite, I don't want to get her mad, and I don't want her to be my patron deity as well, you know. Bad in both cases. Okay. When a tree is older than your grandparents would think any animist participation would hold a deep feeling of reverence towards being so ancient. There are many ancient trees all over the world that are venerated, and there are plenty of these great trees in Georgia as well. Unfortunately, many of them are cut down, and many of them were like witnesses to a lot of historical events because Georgians and other Caucasians would often. Okay, it's getting a bit hot with so many helmets on and hats on. people would make blood oaths to the trees, as and trees were the witness to it, and this like sacred trees became witness to a lot of history, but unfortunately, many of them got cut down because some say people would sacrifice children to it. But I, they would. I think they were exaggerating because like sacrificing 3 kids every week, you're gonna run out of kids really soon, especially in a small country like Georgia. Okay, trees are trees are also really useful for wood, which was used for ton of stuff back in the day. Yes, but you don't want to cut down really old ones. They have sentimental value at least. I've always found 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 of an accident primal worship when people use to worship objects from nature, mountains, rivers, storms, etc. Sun. I always found a fund. Okay, me being bad at reading English. Uh, I made just today a video about how religions form and evolve, and how we can use it for to build our own pantheons and mythologies. So I'm gonna go into that in a future video. Assimilation, it's a complicated thing because at the one hand, you do need a social cohesion. Everyone can't be like me and my village. We're gonna be independent. Like we have this huge problem in Georgia and Caucasus in general that every village wants to be an independent country. Especially, it's difficult for small countries like us because we're easy to tear apart by other imperial powers. But assimilation can destroy all of your local culture, but there is a good form of it where you assimilate halfway, where you are still part of society of that you live in, but you still keep your culture. I think this is more a positive view of assimilation, positive view of everything. That and nothing like no radical side is good. Not too much of one thing, too little of the other. None of it is good. Balance is the key. Keeping your culture but assimilating to the vibes. Fall armies cut down trees because the trees are witness to their war crimes. The trees remember what you did and will not forget. True, 100% true. You got where I was going because they did. Um, they were witness to a lot of atrocities, and they were witness to the promises they made and broke. That's really important because a lot of promises and pacts were made in front of those trees to be witness. And when they broke those pacts and broke those promises, they went and chopped those trees down. So there were not even spirits would remember their evil acts. That's really important. I read that one of the gods of the Polabian Slavs was represented by old trees. Yes, there are a lot of Slavic cultures venerate trees. A specific type, maybe oak. Oaks are usually really big and they are often used as symbols and wasn't supposed to be depicted in other ways. Yes. Russian, not just Russian, Slavic people really venerate um, their ancestors that are often sacrificed to the not literally killed, like buried in the roots of the trees, and they would also carve faces of their ancestors and of their gods into those trees, and similar to Game of Thrones with us like. Many face trees or whatever they're called. Um, and that has been practiced not just by Slavs, many cultures continue that practice. In Georgia, we also have this interesting practice of the wishing tree. The wishing tree called natris which are tree that are mostly old dead trees that are decorated with colorful ribbons. That you, when you tie those ribbons to, You make a wish, and the tree remembers, and hopefully that wish comes true. And a lot of churches and a lot of holy places have these trees. Technically, it's a pagan practice, but a lot of rural places have these trees that keep this like beautiful cloth and rope on them, and it's like a really a magical experience seeing those trees. And gonna tell you a really weird experience I had a few years back. I love just wandering, just picking a direction and going towards that until I get tired, and then somehow trying to return home. And I often go in the places that I've never been, and quite often get chased by wild dogs and other animals. But one day I was like traveling in the unknown fields, and somehow ended up next to a some buildings, like chemical buildings or some medical buildings, trash pile that they never cleaned up, and all the bags and all the trash they medical trash they kept, all of that got swept away by the wind. And there was one tree in this like flat plain filled with trash, absolute garbage that I had to like walk around not to step on needles and stuff like that. But that one tree was covered by the cellophane, the like plastic, not even bags, like it was ripped apart, and it was the most disgusting yet the most beautiful sight that I've ever seen. Like a rolling hills of garbage, but a one single mighty tree that has no leaves, only those white see-through paper, not the paper, the plastic that is blowing in the wind like this, like ethereal, ghostly tree with like, and it was really sunny. It was during summer, so like summer shining light hitting those plastic bags, like sparkling in the light. It was literally some sort of magical religious experience that I was like mesmerized. But right then and there, I didn't have a camera to take a picture, and only thing I have in memory is that image of this like tree with glowing leaves of plastic bags. It's like I don't know. Is it like a religious experience, or I was having a heat stroke? I don't know, but it was still a sight to behold. All right, let's get back into questions. What's going on? Okay. I read that one of the gods of okay, American is Neo-Rome, an undying political system, but very different culture within it. A tricky balance to strike. How would I call it? The Neo-Rome? I don't know, but sure. Um, New York, elected a multimillionaire Marxist Muslim that might be a little too diverse. I don't know, man. New York produces the craziest people. People, Trump and Mamdani both are just New York's finest work. I was the, I think, only person standing by my boy Curtis Lewa. He was shot 5 times by gabagoolis and mafiosos, and he still crawled out from the taxi and avenged all the bullets he got shot. He's like a crazy comic book character brought to life. He is true New York. He should have been mayor. Um, Thinking of trees and being smashed by evil, that reminds me of how in Rings of Power and Lord of the Lion films orc reveal destroying trees much for fun and for their industry. Yes, that's also a big part of orcish identity is to love destroying nature and life. I think the democratic confederalism that they're trying to enact in Kurdish Syria could be healthy medium between autonomy and assimilation. Can't say anything about it, to be honest. I have Kurdish friends. That's all I can say about them. They're nice people, but some of them want an independent state in Georgia. So, uh, how much support I can give to that, I don't know. But Kurds themselves have really interesting faith. They have really like mix of Christianity, Islam, their own belief system, a lot of elements of Zoroastrianism. It's really interesting. I like to talk to different Kurdish religious leaders, and one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had. Okay, and arrogant that those put under fruit trees so their bodies can help provide nutrients for the futures. One of the things I want when I die is a big tree to be planted where I am, so I can turn into like a big ancient oak tree and give wisdom to my descendants. Technically, it's a pagan practice, can describe so many things. Okay, kind of like metaphor for the resilience staying strong in tough times. I not both. Okay, trying to keep up with the comments. I remember a tree practice that was done by northern pagans in Pakistan. Trinkets would be tied to the branches of trees. It was done to pull attention of fairies away from the homes. Could have similar roots. Again, might have been Zoroastrian influence, going to Georgia and Pakistan as well. All right, I'm gonna head out. Y'all have a fun rest of the stream and armor crafting. If I actually get to armor crafting, only thing I made is this little bit. Because I'm on a perfect warfare darkness setting in Georgia. I'm gonna make, I promise you, here and now, I'm trying to figure out what can I do with this world. I have, I really love world building, but what do I do with the worlds that I create? Do I write books about it? Do I make movies about? What do I do with those worlds? I don't know. I've been talking to some of my programmer friends. One of the things I'm thinking about is making a sort of interactive video game that is like simulating you being a manager, like a middle manager of a secret society trying to control and hide what's going on in Eastern Europe. So maybe that could be another avenue, or maybe I could, like, I've been talking to my friends, we could actually do a live play series, but would that be World of Darkness or something of my creation? I don't know. I'm still iffy about it because World of Darkness says it's like Vampire the Masquerade, the Hunter, the something something, the Mage the Ascension, all these different settings. But if I want to make a game, I want to make a mix of all these like weird creatures and beings, like vampires, werewolves, witches, warlocks, all of them living and working together. So that would be my goal in the future, to somehow use it. And maybe like I have like one of the things I suffer is having too many ideas, and one of the things, if I ever do, is make a movie that would be in kind of a Eastern European fantasy world, kind of inspired by World of Darkness, kind of my own original thing. Okay. Gabagool sound like a great title for a horror movie, like a zombie murder victim resurrecting to revenge on a mob that killed him. That's a someone is also struggling with too many creative ideas. I really like that. Gabagool that could be a great movie. Okay, simulation sounds good until you can't have conversation with your own grandparents because family language is lost. Gonna admit something about myself. I'm my mother's side of the family, not no, my father's side of the family are Megrelian, that they have their own language, and unfortunately I identify as a Megrelian, but because I was raised in the capital city, because I didn't have much connection to the village that my grandfather came from, and my parents and grandparents never actually taught me the language, I have hard time sometimes communicating with my distant relatives who still live in the village. They, of course, speak perfect Georgian, but I still have that lack in my heart that I cannot speak the language of my ancestors. And technically, of course, I speak Georgian fluently, but like my own particular small part of the world, I'm still not fully connected with, and hopefully, I can learn it. Uh, I I should write short stories. I've been trying to write short stories. I have like an app where I write a bunch of short stories, but I start them, never finish them, and have like 15 to 20 different stories started. None of them finished. So I have to somehow force myself to go back to those stories and finish them because it every time the news comes at the 3 a.m. and I have to like start frantically writing, then I pass out and wake up and like what was I even writing? I don't remember anything. All right, try to keep up. Ba ba ba. You can lose language if you don't use it, though. We're losing dozens. Yes, a lot of languages are going extinct, and I'm afraid some of Georgian languages might go extinct. Uh, some Caucasian languages already went extinct, such as Udi. Udi were North Caucasian related to Circassian people who had their own culture, their own language, but because of Circassian genocide and Caucasian genocide in general, and displacement, Soviet repression of ethnic identities, many different things. Unfortunately, there are people who still identify as Udi, but not a lot of people who still speak the language. Same with many other Caucasian peoples, um, especially in the North Caucasus, where Russia is definitely trying to erase their independent identities and make them just funny fighting Russian subclass and nothing else. Um, yes, I really enjoy world building, but like actually the writing a story is so difficult. I need to make like anthropological books or like research papers about my own made up worlds to be like like a tourist guide to my world and not do anything else. Okay, you should start with a D&D adventure in the setting. They're fun to make. Yes, there are. That's why I have many different ongoing D&D stories, and that's why I started the channel to actually use my practice that I made do to share with others and my thought process. Put some thought into how the outside world works and use up to it my. Okay. You can have some sort of writing contest where you create a setting and people write stories. It's cool. That's a really fun idea. Um, Hopefully in the future I actually make my own setting content. I've been planning to make it for over 5 years now. That's one of the reasons I started this channel to like show like Ahmanza right here has a really great channel. Everyone should check it out. He is world building Boom. He has other projects, but currently I'm watching his Boom series, and he's like um, uh, has his own world building project, and I'm really inspired by it. And I should finally finish all my sketches. I have like a whole document filled with sketches. God damn it. I used to be a graphic designer and animator. I completely abandoned my own job and work that I did. Uh, I need to return to it somehow. There was a lot of gaps in World of Boom. I would love to have your participation in its development. I would love to. I really like the story that you're building, and I really love your art and animation. especially now that we are making a video game. Yes, loved talking through the armor system. Really great research, and I appreciate that. Okay, consider how with Harry Potter, the world building for UK and the bits coming in from Europe are very good. I wouldn't. I would say it's very good, but the author's world building for the rest of the world feels like it's just. I'm I don't know. I have many thoughts, most of them negative, towards Harry Potter. Uh, I never liked its world building, and I hated a lot of the story plot points it presented. I don't know. From an Eastern European's perspective, Harry Potter is a just like a classist, hierarchical, like something. I don't want to get too much into it, but especially world building about other parts of the world. It's really shameful how terrible job um, J.K. Rowling did in in general world building and especially covering everything outside of England. But that to Ahmunza's point, uh, I think it is always good to be able to create a world where other people can instinctually add to it without ruining it. So, what do I mean by this? Like, a lot of people have added their own ideas to, for example, um, words of Conan, words of what's the Lovecraft, and the original authors created such a compelling worlds that other people who fell in love with their world building could easily jump into it and add as much as possible to it and expand it. And that's what I love. You being such a good world builder that other people can easily jump on board and continue what you are doing. Hopefully, I'll be able to do something like that in the future, especially with my like urban Eastern European urban fantasy. Made up with my started to care. I think having some not put into would be wise. Yes, again, I'm really a big hater of the thing about Harry Potter. It had such a huge potential for to making it an open world project. So other people can create their own characters, their own schools, their own worlds that can expand. But she did such a terrible job. Nobody now wants to truly participate in it. No, of course, plenty of people want to participate in it, but like it had bigger potential. Okay, languages are problematic. Not everybody can learn more than two, and it's harder with age. I can speak 3.2 or 3.3 languages. Technically, I'm fluent in three. Okay, you could say I'm not that fluent in English. I'm fluent in Russian, fluent in Georgian, and know very poorly French, Spanish, technically a bit of Megrelian, technically, and random scattering words in Japanese. So I wouldn't count that I am like able to communicate, but I might be able to orient myself in those countries. That's the level I am. But I really want to learn another a fourth language on top of it. Unless it is very monolingual, Brits and Americans never learn new languages, while most other folks speak several. Yes, and learning multiple languages also helps you develop your personality and develop plasticity. Mention some other diseases. Okay, check this. Okay, don't get the context. Harry Potter is a proper British boarding school story. It's all about class. Uh, The thing that I mostly don't like about Harry Potter, I have many issues, but it's not just class. It's about race purity and stuff like that. It kind of challenges it with like mudbloods and blah blah blah, but not really because um, I don't like magic being restricted to only people with special blood. That's one of the things that I dislike. Some magic could be like clan based, like for example in what's the Naruto that different clans and different families have their own specific styles, but the access to magic itself or access to power being restricted by genetics is realistic, but it's really like not something that I fully enjoy. If you're gonna tell a story about that, you have to criticize it really harshly, not like surface level criticism that J.K. Rowling did. Um, it's how late are you hanging out with us tonight? It's half past 2 o'clock. It's soon gonna be 3 o'clock in the morning, and I still am able to continue chatting with you guys, but might have to call it a night at least in like half an hour or so. Let's see how much I can last. Have you considered making an old school dungeon crawler with your friend who can code? Their user interface are simple. I think you could do well with your world with that. Okay. Should I tell you guys or should I not? Okay, one of the things of my many crazy ideas that I have is to make a simple dungeon crawler, but with mixed media. Some of it animation, some of it is puppetry, some of it is video behind the green screen, and it would be like choose your own adventure with video. So you can make this choice, that choice. Maybe go this way in the dungeon, you find this trap and you die. You go that way in the dungeon, you find treasure. Like something simple like that, but with a lot of character, world building, and story interactions. It's like um, Dispatch that is really popular right now. When you're making your own story with taking different paths for it, but it's like dungeon crawling, choose your own adventure, old school fantasy books. Like something mix of that because I have a lot of costumes and a lot of puppetry and stuff like that, and I have no idea what to do with them other than make YouTube videos. But I already like maybe make more complex YouTube videos, maybe make higher quality videos, but all of that requires money. But something like a simple story based dungeon crawler could be more plausible to make. Especially it requires really little to no programming. Like click this button, you go to this video, click that button, you go to that video. It's really simple. Okay, in Britain, the way you say the word pegs your status for life. It's in inviolate classism 101. I don't know how do you say word other than word. Word. I think Tolkien is at the extreme opposite and the cycle of the Surgat. He was such a good world builder that Noah, other than him and his son working with his notes, has the ability to athlete. That is a really good point. That is a really good point. Sometimes it's good to be not that perfect, and other people can improve upon it. And not a lot of people can improve on Tolkien. Um, that's a big challenge. Um, Anglos have been tyrants, conquerors, dominators. Nothing could be more Anglo-Saxon, in fact. I would argue that Normans, the Norman elite of England, are the ones who are truly conquerors. Like Anglo Saxons themselves, the Germanic tribes, Yes, they came in conquered, but they just created bunch of fiefdoms and small kingdoms. But the French Vikings, the Normans, they were the ones who established the royal court system that later became the mighty empire that it was, that went around the world conquering everything. Um, okay, let's see. Japanese is very fun to learn, speak, and listen to. It's not fun to learn writing and reading. Yes, write. I cannot write or read, but I can at least follow along without subtitles. With subtitles is better, but you know, uh, I need to like one day go there and live there and actually become a sumo like Toshinoshin. Ireland and Iceland. None, no one of folks you elected got there by accident. Okay. They don't really have a royal family anymore. The clan that held high kingship in Ireland was half Irish, half Norse. Okay, how would you, with how you say you don't like initial family powers, does that mean you don't like Lord of the Rings since angels like Gandalf, the Balrog, and Sauron have power since they are almost gods? They don't count because they are angels and demons. That's a different case. They're Maiar, they're spirits in human form. Um, I am not against hierarchies, but uh, I don't know. I've known plenty of kids who were waiting for that Hogwarts letter and it never came, and I had to break it to them. My friend, you're a muggle. You're not getting into Wizard Academy. And even if you were, you would probably be sent to like Russian gulag wizarding school because fucking what's her face? The J.K. Rowling didn't think that Eastern Europe were had anyone other than Russians there. And the main okay, Northmen that became extremely French. Um, Sadly, as the old Norman yoke hangs heavily on English to this day. Yes, that's why I'm more of a Celtic nationalist in the regard of England. Should have never taken the Latin pill. This was their demise. What would be greater Georgia in your mind uh, if history when is their favor? Germans got it. Okay, if I understand your question, the best thing like Greater Georgia, or what would be Greater Georgia in my mind? Greater Georgia, I think maybe it's a terrible example to pull right now, but United Kingdoms being made out of independent kingdoms united into like one commonwealth, a political structure that works together. Of course, it's not stable even in England, but I think a united Caucasian front that tries to preserve and help out each other would be really great. But it's a really a pipe dream because everyone hates everyone here, and there are huge institutions like Russian imperial institutions that do everything in their powers that everyone hates everyone, and fighting in the region continues. So it's a pipe dream of mine. It's like the when Russian Empire collapsed, we for a few weeks or months we had a Caucasian republic where like Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan were part of a social democratic collectivist system, but it collapsed immediately. So I don't think it's possible anywhere other than a fantasy book. But I'm gonna write that fantasy book. Uh, my favorite fantasy dwarf. That's a good question. There are many, many different interesting interpretations of dwarves. But, but, talking dwarves are of course classic. Um, Seven, the dwarves, like I would say that, but like, um, I'm gonna go retro and say, God damn, the Ring Cycle. What's the name? The German opera and myth about like a dwarf that that steals the ring and turns into a drug and um, I goddamn I can't remember. It's but mythological dwarves themselves are pretty cool, like the original mythological dwarves. But more fantasy inspiration would be somewhere in between Warhammer, not Warhammer Fantasy, and Warcraft. But D&D dwarves are pretty cool as well. I like the dwarves being near steampunk and like almost going into industrial revolution. Okay, trying to keep up with the comments. Da da da. Okay, if you're a medieval knight and could ride and could ride any animal, what dinosaur would you choose? Okay, going into dinosaurs, right? Okay. If it wasn't a dinosaur and I had to choose an animal, it would be either a rhinoceros or a typical bull, being someone who has weapons on its head and can defend me. So, if I say rhinoceros and bull, the obvious answer is the rhinoceros bull dinosaur, the triceratops, with the horns and the horns and the horns and the horns and everything. That would be the obvious answer, especially the head shield would be great at covering, and on top of it, me with like I don't know slings or like javelins would like throw in weapons, and I would probably be on its other side protecting its back from other dinosaurs. All right, pretty cool question. Okay, what about the dwarves, elves? I don't get the context, but uh, everyone's cool in Lord of the Rings other than the orcs. But what's your favorite fantasy dwarf? I answered that. Did Georgian knights develop plate armor or were they more of a mail armor preferring type of knight? Georgian knights had never got into the full plate armor of Western Europe because that's really expensive, and that's more of a rich gentry that doesn't get invaded by 50 super empires at the same time. Georgian nobility were comparatively quite poor, but they did have a lot of styles of armor that were popular in Eastern Europe. Where it was Byzantine Empire, I've talked about this many times before. They had lamellar armor and scale armor, and when it came like Persian has developed a Bektar armor with like plate mail that I often show, like combination of plate and mail. We not just we, all the Eastern Europeans started wearing plate mail, but the chain mail was still more dominant, and it was really common. I would say that Georgians weren't as heavily armored as Western Europeans, but per capita, more people owned armor. So even a lot of like low, almost close to peasantry or like free landowning peasants, even they had access to armor. So that would be the unique feature of Georgian knights, that there were many poorer, smaller feudal lords, but they had far more experience because Georgia was always at war. There was basically in Georgian history there is no lifetime where there haven't been war. Like in my own lifetime, I've lived through multiple wars. Okay, trying to catch up. The Ring of the Nibelungs. Yes, that's right. My four favorite dwarves are probably the ones from Warhammer Fantasy. They are great, of course. I did like the ones in the dwarves series in Marcus says. Warhammer Fantasy has like technological steampunky dwarves that I really like. Have you read the Summer Says by Ter? No, I haven't. Oh, okay. It might be interesting. I might check it out. Okay, but what about dwarves, elves, and hobbits who all have special powers based on what they are, and some men have special innate greatness from being from X family? It's not a problem for me because everyone has their own unique features. Like elves have their own magic, dwarves have their own magic, humans have their own magic coming from families. It's my the thing that I don't like in um, let's say what's the fucking the Harry Potter series is that only these people can practice magic. I would say that maybe these people can practice this type of magic. That people can practice this type of magic. Maybe this culture has developed this school of magic, or this culture has developed this school. This family has this institution, that family has this institution, like creating diversity, but everyone having the access to magic. Like the idea of squibs, someone born in magical family without magical abilities. Like, why can't this person use, I don't know, crystals? Like, goddamn, I dropped the crystal. Like, or like potions, or like, no, it's a coin. Or maybe like buy magical devices and magical items that they can find that have magical properties to be a magic user without relying on its like wand waving style of magic. That's the thing that grinds my gear with Harry Potter. You have to be born with magical powers, or you're just a loser. And having unique features and unique cultures of magic, and some families have this form of magic, some families have that I pretty like a lot, that form of like cultural diversity magic, that I would call it, not class inherited and limited magic, but diverse different schools and types of magic. Okay, I go with the absolute classic Gimli and JP, the media interpretations, like in Delicious Dungeon. Dwarves is actually realistically eating what he could produce subterranean dungeons. I'm gonna make a series about that as well. I really like the Dungeon Meshi and have a lot of things to say about it. Give me a moment. Speaking of Dungeon Meshi, I wear so many helmets, why not this as well? Uh, It's important to have a balanced breakfast, my friends. Eat your slime. All right. Like how Aragon can heal and command the Oathbreakers. Okay. I love how those they're pretty cool too. Okay. Aragon, like how Aragon can heal and command Oathbreakers, or how come elf nobles are also mages, or how dwarves can. Okay, I think I answered your question. That's what I was asking. Okay, since they are in the people of the world, not the angels or demons. Okay, what did the Georgian think of Eastern Roman Empire? That's a good question. We had a. I don't know if you can. I'm gonna remove it. I don't know if you can hear it properly with this. Got them. Eastern Roman Empire or Byzantine Empire, we had a complicated relationship with, because when they were weak, they were our best friends. When they were strong, they were our mortal enemies. When they didn't need help, they would often invade us. But when they needed help, they would like come with very kind words, and we were often involved in their politics. Georgian and even more than Georgia, Armenia was deeply involved in Byzantine politics. Many Georgian nobles and Armenian nobles actually ruled Byzantine Empire or intermarried within it. And our culture and politics were heavily mixed. Out of great generals became powerful in the service of Byzantine Empire. So we fought a lot on the over territories of Vlasica and Auglarjeti that are now unfortunately under Turkish occupation. That was majority Georgian and Armenians, and the Byzantines often tried to take more and more of our lands. But when they were weak and when they were invaded, oh my God, Georgia, Armenia, our best friend. Let's be friends forever. Okay. What do you think I see in Empire? In Harry Potter, somehow the British people use wands and Africans have wandless magic. Why? Like Africans have such an interest in the culture of like not just wands, like staffs and like shamanistic rituals. I think leaving other cultures that she's not familiar with for other people to explore would be much better. So if different factions, races have their own stuff, as long as each group gets a cool fantasy thing. Yes, everyone should have their own cool thing. And if you are dedicated enough, you should be able to do some sort of magic. Maybe not this type of magic, but something like crystals, potions, or something. I don't like this like you are inherently born with magical powers that only you can do because you're special. Like okay, maybe you're special in this, maybe you're talented in that, you're in this, you're in that. That's my position in that. Um, okay. Okay, In Irish, knights seem to have also been poor and technological we were technological backwards. We just were constantly invaded, so we didn't have opportunities to develop our resources to buy better quality armor. Branded armor similar to Lorica segmentata. I love delicious intelligence, but dragons are um, white meat. Sure, I would still love to eat a dragon. Uh, I haven't checked out Dungeon Meshi yet. It's wonderful. Yes. Thank you answering about Lord of the Rings. Okay. Um, actually has lazy world building and it seems more like um, was never interested in anything outside of Britain. I'm pretty sure J.K. Rowling wasn't really interested in anything about Britain just by looking at her writing. She could have just left it for other people to fill in the gaps, but she decided, no, I'm still gonna do a terrible job at it, just like wave my finger around it. To be fair, most of the stuff outside of the first seven books seems like she did not bother thinking too much about it. Yeah. In the world of Boom, any person can be a wizard with long study into the arts. Elves are born with some innate knowledge of magic, but this hinders the study of magic more than it helps. Since magic is a type of study, requires an empty glass before study. That's very interesting interpretation. That someone being predisposed to magic actually weakens them in the developing it deeper. I think it's the good to have like different forms of magic and different forms of interactive. Like for example, sorcerers, wizards, warlocks, druids, all of them living in the same world, having different ways of acquiring a power for themselves. Seems like having an empire of your doorstep is fun, but they constantly try to make you the doorstep. Yeah, true. That's the thing, unfortunately, Romans always struggled with. Be it Eastern Romans, classical Romans, they really need a border guard like Georgia and Armenia. It's too much work defending that area from locals and other empires. So having locals be independent and friendly towards you is so much better than just trying to dominate everything. When you're an empire, you need to know when you roll them, when you invade them, when you make them friends, and who you make your enemies. Um, in Elder Scrolls, it's what system where those who aren't gifted go by using scrolls and staffs and potions. Sure, that's also a great way to be a part of the system. I just meant that Irish were running around in what is basically Roman Lorica in 16th century. It's actually really protective. Like segmented plate armor is protective enough. Full plate armor is really protective, but the difference between 100% protection and 90% protection, it's still you're going to survive most battles. Do you like when magic is more like science and mages like researchers, or more mystic and unexplainable, even to users? I like mix of both. I like magic being unexplainable, but humans and humanoids still try to explain it. That's human nature. We might not fully grasp it, but we will still try to bend it to our will. That's been always our case. Like, oh, most basis for mythology is humans trying to somehow bend reality to their will. Maybe just saying to the Mr. Cloud, please do not burn down my building by your lightnings. Please have my daughter instead. Or like Mr. Great Serpent of the Sea, please give me rain. Here, have my daughter for it. Humans have been trying to control forces beyond their comprehension all the time. And magic being on its own, unbendable, uncontrollable, and insurmountable, but humans still somehow jerry rigging and kicking it and somehow duct taping and somehow wielding it. It's what makes us who we are. The biggest reasons why wizards are few is because the spell failure results in wizards head exploding. That's a great way of limiting the amount of wizards in your role. The threat of arcanum destruction filters most folk from the study. Um, I think that is a really good idea when you're building magic to make it very dangerous. Okay, maybe